Hi there, good evening and welcome to Undaunted Weekly Recap. I am Onyi Opala. Let's begin. Well, in the last week of March, Undaunted saw reports from different dimensions. From the failed promises of the Ring Road 62 years since Ambazonia drawing in an island. Should we talk about Ambazonians drowning in an island? The pain, the anguish, and depression are seen in the report of the 34-year-old lady that burnt herself to death. This report and more were reported during the week. When we return from this very short break, we will bring the recap in detail.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with Undaunted ABC Amba News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution and Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amba TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amba TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Amazonia must narrate her story accurately.
Accurately.
We can do this together, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambertv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
You're welcome back. No day and no night would pass without the heinous crimes committed here and there. Uncertainty, the fear of the unknown, kidnappings, killings have found fertile grounds in La Republic du Cameroon political capital, and that has been emitting chills day and night. The thing is, the number of crimes that are orchestrated every 24 hours is alarming. Hotspots or centers include Mimboman, Mvam, and Avenue Kennedy. Now, these places, kidnappings, assault, torture, assassinations are common there. Those who roam the streets of the neighborhoods mentioned above no longer know at which hour fortunes can turn around. Now, this is Colonial La Republic de Cameroon's political capital, which only yesterday was considered the most secure city in the country. Today, the advent of this phenomenon embarrasses the whole country. Also, this week on Undaunted, we saw first of its kind. We saw a man killed by thunder and lightning. The sad news that got to Undaunted said the Reverend Abbé Ngaige, a pastor of the Presbyterian Church in the Cameroons, is reported to have been struck to death by lightning in Bui County. Reverend Abbey was in charge of the Menzem parish in Bui Presbytery of the Northern Zone. The incident, which took place on Wednesday, March 22nd, was confirmed by the moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroons, the Right Reverend Funky Samuel Foba. Also, this week, we told you on Monday that 5 students taken by separatist fighters in Bui County of the Savannah Zone of Amazonia are still yet to regain their liberty over 1 month since they were taken for allegedly participating in Youth Day celebrations on February 11, 2023. 6 students of government bilingual high school Kumbo were abducted on the 12th day of February, and one of them was later released. But the whereabouts of the 5 others are still unknown. Well, it is alleged that the students are being held at the separatist hideouts at Nkobi in Kikiaikum. Now, among the missing students is a 16-year-old girl. This is as reported by Mimi Info. Also, this week, we reported that failed promises of La Republic de Cameroon is becoming alarming. Now, let's take the case of the Nkambe stretch. Former colonial La Republic de Cameroon President Amadou Ahidjo promised the ring road and, died without realizing that particular promise. Now, his colonial successor, the octogenarian dictator Paul Biya, came in and announced that he was personally going to supervise it and, failed. Traveling from Bamenda to Nkambe remains a nightmare. Not just that, same as Bamenda and Wum, which is a distance of 170 kilometers. Bamenda and Nkambe can be covered in 8 to 12 hours, while travelers who used to pay 5,000 francs CFA now pay 20,000 francs CFA. This is the same distance between the colonial Republic de Cameroon town of Yaoundé and Eboloa, where travelers pay 1,500 francs CFA and take 1 hour to travel. This shows how La Republique du Cameroon, in its evil machinations, intended to keep southern Cameroon's Amazonians backwards. But this is the true price Nkambe has to pay for showing their loyalty to, the genocidal Yaoundé regime. This week, sadly, we told you that several civilians are feared dead and many houses were reduced to ashes in the Kovi Bui County, Savannah region of Amazonia, when La Republic of Cameroon terrorist soldiers carried out indiscriminate attacks on the community. The attacks were carried out on Saturday, March 25th, 2023 night, when the villagers were all fast asleep. Many of those fled have not been found. The fear is that they are dead, given that we have already discovered corpses, according to these villagers. Some villagers were also taken away after their houses were looted and set ablaze. Now, that's what a local narrated to Undaunted. Amazonian fighters in Ngabor yesterday, this was reported on Tuesday, attacked a La Republic de Cameroon helicopter, killing one and injuring two top La Republic de Cameroon occupational army staff. The question we ask is why accept dying every day in a day declared by someone who can barely stand on his feet? Two La Republic de Cameroon occupational soldiers are currently nursing their wounds in critical condition at the Ndu hospital after their helicopter was attacked by separatist fighters in Ngabor in the Savannah zone of Ambazonia. The Colonial La Republic de Cameroon Sergeant Gaslin Marcel of the Buam Squadron and Staff Sergeant Boko Boko of the Nkambe Battalion were severely injured following an attack which took place on Monday, 27th of March 2023. Right now, we also told you that 62 years of long suffering, marginalization, annexation, annihilation, intimidation, subjugation, assimilation, servitude, from equal status to special status. We told you on Thursday that there is a need revisiting the UN General Assembly Resolution of 1608 because the very idea of independence by joining was an absolute political oxymoron. Now, the untold stories with pictures of a people robbed of their identity and resources 62 years ago are alarming. We asked some very stringent questions begging for answers. We asked where the West Cameroon Development Agency is. We asked where the National Produce Marketing Board is. We asked where the Cameroon Bank was. We asked where the Womb Area Development Area was. We asked where the Indiana International River Port is. And so many others. They are nowhere to be found. They are dead, long and buried. Well, we also brought to you the sad story of a lady that killed herself. Now, the people of Sabongida quarters were in consternation last Tuesday morning as they got up to the shocking news of the unusual death of Caroline Kisang. Caroline Kisang, a 34-year-old woman living at the Sabongida quarters in Nkambe, Savannah zone of Ambazonia, died on Tuesday. But we brought you that report on Thursday. She set herself ablaze in the house. Now, we also did a link up reminding you of the incident that happened on the 17th of December 2010 in Tunisia, where Tariq El Mohamed Bouazizi, as a result of all of the issues that is happening, his wares, he was harassed and humiliated, inflicted as well. And then he got so pissed, angry, sad, depressed, and set himself ablaze as well. Now, this act, which became a catalyst for the Tunisian revolution and the wider Arab Spring against autocratic and genocidal regime like what is happening, should we say that this is also what happened to Caroline Kizang? Well, report holds that Caroline Kizang locked herself in the room at about 7:45 a.m. while she was alone before lighting a fire that burned her to death. Now, reports also gathered that she carried out the ordeal with illicit fuel she bought earlier from a roadside vendor. All right, also on Thursday, we brought you a report The La Republic de Cameroon is swallowing up the English language in southern Cameroon and Ambazonia and imposing the colonial language to them. And that has always been and is still the plan of La Republic de Cameroon. Now, not only are all official documents of the Cameroons released only in the French language, but La Republic du Cameroon also organized activities in an English speaking Amazonia, and labels are done in French. Well, this report said that on Tuesday, March 28, 2023, the president of the steering committee of the Presidential Plan for Reconstruction and Development of La Republique du Cameroon destroyed Amazonia in Bamenda, and the labels on the sitting positions were all in French. Well, good thing that the interim government is here to put an end to all of the colonization schemes of La Republique du Cameroon in Amazonia. The question we asked on Thursday when we reported this incident is how can La Republique du Cameroon be labeling seats in Bamenda, an English speaking zone in French? How are they supposed to understand and communicate? Well, moving on, we also brought you this report that the Ambazonia Restoration Forces, the ARF, is on a winning spree in its fight to flush out the occupational forces of La Republique du Cameroon. While the home advantage is indeed paying off in favor of the frontline fighters of the liberation struggle. The Ambazonia Restoration Forces yesterday had crude tools in the name of weapons to face their enemies, the occupational forces of La Republique du Cameroon. But while today the story is different, they are now equipped with sophisticated weapons that are proportionate and even more than the military might to the colonial La Republique du Cameroon soldiers. Well, on Wednesday, March 4th, 2029, 29th, 2023, I beg your pardon, proved the military stamina of the Ambazonia Restoration Forces as they pushed back the colonial thugs of La Republique du Cameroon. Frustrated with the outcome, the La Republique du Cameroon colonial military resorted to the burning of private properties and even the Bui main market. How will the burning of private properties enable them to have a breakthrough in the Ambazonia Restoration Forces? Oh, well, what we can say is that the warfare tactics of the forces of the interim government, the Ambazonia Restoration Forces, is putting the occupational forces of La Republique du Cameroon in a very tight corner. Also, this week, especially on Thursday, we told you the sad news got to us as at least 3 migrants died. Well, 13 are still missing, while 14 have been rescued off the Caribbean waters. News has been confirmed that the victims are mostly southern Cameroonians and Ambazonians. Why are they fleeing? They are fleeing from the ravaging war in Amberland. Well, they left Antigua early Tuesday, March 28, 2023, but then hasn't been able to arrive. Further report says that the group departed from Antigua heading to the U.S. Virgin Islands because their boat sank near St. Kitts Island. Undaunted gathered again that the southern Cameroonians migrated as tourists with hopes to crossing into the U.S. colonial area. Well, while they couldn't cross, the U.S. colonial Talbot Benjamin, the chief of defense for Antigua, told state media that the incident happened some 60 kilometers from northwest of Antigua. And well, with that sad news, we've come to the end of the Undaunted weekly recap. These were stories and reports we did during the week. Well, right after the break, we would come with fresh news for today. Do well to stay with us.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
Alright, y'all, welcome back. Let's go to the fresh news for today. Now, the ongoing war in southern Cameroon's Amazonia has come like a wild wind, exposing the types of human beings the people of southern Cameroon's Amazonia has as the custodians of their different traditions. Now, the conflict has brought to the limelight two types of traditional rulers in Amazonia. The first one are those that will stand with the people, no matter what their tips from the colonial Republic to Cameroon is. And the second are those who stand with the colonial Republic to Cameroon people against their own people. Well, of course, you cannot deny a person and live again with them. So those funds that chose to side with La Republic du Cameroon have all abandoned their fundoms and are now refugees in the backyard of, Paul Biya. On the other hand, the funds who preferred to die with their people are in their palaces, again, the protection of the people. The funds of Dunga County in the Savannah Zone have come together to form a union for the protection of their tradition. Why would some funds abandon their palaces and others still in their palaces within the conflict? It just shows interest. Now, the funds of Dunga County in the Savannah Zones have come together to form union for the protection of their tradition. This was the outcome of a two-day elective General Assembly meeting organized and chaired by the funds. The pioneer ESCO was elected in Nkambe, Donga County, the headquarters on Tuesday, March 30th, 2023, ending a two-day constituent and elective General Assembly. The pioneer ESCO is headed by the fund of Chup village in Nkambe Center. As pioneer president of the union, he's aimed at safeguarding their dynamic Donga culture and tradition. Well, the event saw the participation of close to 50 traditional rulers from the Ako, Nwam, Miseje, Ndu, and Nkambe subdivisions. The vice president went to Miseje subdivision, while the post of the secretary general went to Ako subdivision, and the fund of Ntudip in the Ndu subdivision retained the post of treasurer. Well, let's see what they will get as we will continue to look at that story as it continues to develop. Now, moving on, a sad news. Ghastly car crash kills students. Well, sad breaking news reaching Undaunted says about 10 students are feared dead following an accident that occurred this morning at Moliway, a locality along the Victoria Motengene stretch. Sources say a heavy-duty truck transporting sand lost control before crushing a transport bus. Most of the victims are students of the Government Technical High School Amba. Family members are urged to cross-check their loved ones who went out early this morning on this stretch of road. Well, this is also a developing story. In another developing story, two children in the mental quarters in Nkwem in Bamenda are reportedly to have died while they drowned in the water. Now, this water is in a law area, and swimming is prohibited in this particular area because a lot of traditional activities are being carried out here. The question we are asking is, why were those children there? Who led them there? Where are their parents? Why would they let them to go there and drown? Well, that is also a developing story. We would keep you up to date with that particular report. Also today, we have, as a fresh news, a new colonial La Republique du Cameroon Gendarmerie commander who has been asked to, crush Amazonians. Well, news gets into Undaunted says the new occupier La Republique du Cameroon Gendarmerie commander for the southern zone of Amazonia, Genocidio Colonel Kola, has been installed. He was not just installed, he was instructed to start working immediately to crush Amazonian freedom fighters in the Amberland, which has been engulfed in an armed conflict since 2016. Undaunted gathered that Colonel Kolar, who was previously commanding the Special La Republique du Cameroon oppressive forces of the Gendarmerie in Yaoundé, was installed by the Colonial La Republique du Cameroon's commander of the Colonial La Republique du Cameroon set up, called the Second Military Region. General Ekong said Divine at Bongo Square, Boya local government area on the 29th of March 2023. Oh well, Undaunted gathered that during this installation ceremony, just to keep the Yaoundé junta in place, the new occupier was firmly instructed that Amazonian freedom fighters' activities are always looking for new strategies, so they have no rest until you contain the armed groups in the southern zone. They went on to tell him that your training and professional background has made everyone want to see you at work at the wielding terrain. Your work has to start immediately. Well, they also told him it's up to you to quickly grasp the full extent of the responsibilities that are new incumbent on you. Well, General Ekonwose added. Meanwhile, the 46-year-old colonial and Colonel Kola replaces another colonial La Republic de Cameroon, Colonel Chinda Henry, who has been appointed to Gaura. Colonel Kola in Daunted Lands is said to be one of the genocidal La Republic de Cameroon's experienced and well-educated officer who has at least 4 diplomas in different military specialties, including combating terrorism. The new genocidal La Republic de Cameroon's commander, however, takes hold of Ambazonian Southern Zone at a time when his colonial barbaric government has been battling fruitlessly to contain the brave and valiant Ambazonian freedom fighters. While his predecessor has been fighting the war since 2018, which was one of the boiling points of the ongoing conflict. Well, while congratulating his predecessor for the work, Colonel Kolar promised to prioritize the population in his operation because they are the center of gravity of the military service. Well, this pledge comes at a time Colonial La Republic de Cameroon genocidal gendarmes and other units of the colonial Yaoundé military have been accused of committing several human rights abuses against civilians across Amazonia, killing, torturing, raping, looting, arbitrary arrest, and detentions. Burning of homes, not to mention but a few. This has to stop. Well, with that news, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight. Coming up next is the fans briefing.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.